Good evening. Welcome to the Fourth Estate. My name is Alan Kasuja, and my esteemed panel is made up of some of the most analytical Ugandans you'll come across. Let me introduce them to you. I'll start with the Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, Member of Parliament, a farmer, amongst other things, and a die-hard NRM man. And next is his brother, friend, lover, not lover, but love of, whatever the word is, love of his life.
This is not a die-hard NRM. This one is joined the NRM when you in the City Square.
Chris Obore.
He's only come to survive. Miriam Matebe knows NRM than this one.
Okay, he is the investigations editor of the Daily Monitor. That's what he does when he's not talking.
He's been sacked.
Yes,
for a warlock or so.
Fair enough. The Honorable Member of Parliament, and now a very senior citizen, the Honorable Miriam Matebe.
Good evening, viewers.
She castigated me the last time I introduced her as something else. And of course, the scholar, the thinker, the writer, Angelo Izama. Welcome to the show. And so today there are quite a number of issues. We shall concentrate on two. The first one being the terrorism that was talked about. On Friday, Uganda police released a picture of a suspected terrorist. Now, this terrorist is believed to have crossed into the country via Busia. Apparently, according to General Kale Kaihura, he used Kalita bus or Kalita coach. This guy has been named as Khalid Muller, and is also known as Andreas Martin Muller, as well as Abu Nusaiba. Now, Angelo, you have been interested in matters of security for a while. And if I remember correctly, there was a time when you claimed that the border of Uganda, Uganda's borders, were way too porous. Is that still the case?
It's absolutely still the case, and until you rationalize information about Ugandans, well, you know, the genesis of this is that around 2004, myself and another colleague did a series of stories about document fraud, which is the rate at which Ugandan passports were either being stolen, sold, or otherwise forged. And I think at that time we were just next to Nigeria. There's an attempt actually by certain countries to blacklist, not officially but unofficially, Ugandan passports. But if you take that and information asymmetry is generally in the country, you realize that the entry and exit in the border is not just a problem. It's easy to penetrate our society. Just walk into any cafe one time and do a survey, and you'll see that there are all manner of people. It's partly good for trade, but for terrorists, it's a very easy ground to operate.
Chris, are we exposed as a country, therefore, because given what Angelo is saying?
Actually, we are not even a country. We are to whom they concern. Angelo says the borders are porous, yes, but the borders don't close themselves. The issue is we are living in a state with a failed government.
That's a bit extreme. What constitutes a failed government?
Why would the borders be porous if a government functions?
But surely the security agencies have sort of
before you talk about the borders, they even pass through Entebbe airport, where security is. When you talk about Busia, they go through Entebbe. So the governments are totally failed, and it's just masquerading.
Is this
we are open to danger.
Is this an accurate portrayal of what's actually the case?
It is total ignorance, of course, on his part. When he says if the government is functioning, why would the borders be porous? The borders be porous. I will need some good hours to school him in some basics of international law.
Good luck.
The porosity of our borders is not only an issue for Uganda. When you have Somalia that has been failed as a government for so many years, endangering its neighbors, why would Uganda therefore be an exception? But I like the point Angelo starts with. I think we need to demystify the intelligence and security organizations should, as much as possible, crusade the citizenry to take precautionary measures in understanding how terrorists behave, how they attack, because they've got common characteristics. The late Nobo Mayomba once said that the threat of terrorism is global, and therefore its response should be global. I think now it should now come down to an individual. Let me give you a simple example. The malls, the public places, what they call happening places, these are manned by private security.
Right.
When we get an occurrence like the one in Nairobi or the one we had here in Uganda, a month after, there are intense checks, seriousness. But as days go by, the system relaxes and eventually collapses.
But you want to live in a country where you are frustrated as a Ugandan and your freedom is curtailed.
I want to tell you, Alan, that before September 11th, you get it, going through Amsterdam was easy. People were not removing their shoes and belts. But this is the order of the day. You must really take on some extra behavior change actions to confront the threat. So the point I was concluding on is that our security, the police, who are doing a good job, we must commend them, is they must first of all draw on the support of the citizens, create and enhance their levels of consciousness, such that even the private security guards we have, even here at the Serena and other hotels, really they should know. We see this mirror rotating around the car.
What does that mirror look for? Actually, those are very interesting.
That's a reflected mirror. So we need to understand whether that mirror sees what I have in my boot.
In Amsterdam,
let
government is
me
at
finish
work.
my point.
In Uganda, government is asleep.
Alan, allow me to finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's
Please
not
finish it.
The shouting matches of Obora, I'm tired of them.
You are talking in Amsterdam.
We need to have the technology that really does the checking. And this calls for a global effort.
Right.
Because even the US, even the most powerful, are not immune
No,
to an attack.
where is the point?
So what they need to-
Technology.
what they
Let me
need to
bring in
do-
Honorable
what they need
Martin.
to- let me finish
Yeah,
my
finish,
point.
finish,
What
finish.
they need to do, therefore, is to build synergies to make sure that, to understand that this threat is for everybody.
Honorable Matembe, do
Yeah.
you sense that Uganda, the leadership in this country, is doing enough
You
to
know,
protect its people?
for me, what I want to say is that the issue of security really, in terms of this terrorism thing, should be everybody's responsibility. But even where there is everybody's responsibility, there is always the main who should be mainly responsible. Now, for me, I would like us to look at the issue of the role of corruption in the whole
It has a
of
role?
this issue. Because when I listened to Kaihura and what he was putting for us on the TV, certainly those people who are involved in transporting this man, the way he gives them luggage, this driver and the conductor, they get a luggage, they see that there is hiding somewhere here. Now, how were they collaborating with this man who was a terrorist? If you listen to the whole of that thing, do you think he was doing it free? You think he never? Do you think he never paid anybody? You always want to draw me to criticize. You want to draw me to criticizing government.
No, I'd like you to make a
because
contribution.
now we are talking about this whole issue of terrorism.
Exactly.
Because when it comes in, even the government, if the government had failed, the people die. If the individuals also have not taken care, they also
As a
die.
critic of the government,
So it
do you
should
agree with
be-
the notion
it should
that
be-
is being portrayed by Chris here, that the government has actually failed, and as a result
For me, what I know, I wouldn't say that in terms of security, I wouldn't use the word failed, because there are areas where the government is doing a good job. But I think most of the time, the government of Uganda is focusing its security on its citizens to deal with rebellious citizens.
Politicians.
It puts more strength and more energy and more tear gas and more equipment into torturing the people with divergent view. So it does that so much. On the international arena, I think in this issue of terrorism, I think it tries. I can't criticize everything in the government. I think it tries.
I love
to
the
do
comment
its work.
of Honorable Maria Matembe. It's not only thinking. The efforts of government is vivid and clear. Alan, the obvious point of Obore, that it's a failure on government. Even after the unfortunate occurrence of September 11th, okay? Professors of security studies posted very, very strong comments that September 11th was a vote of no confidence in the mandate of CIA. They actually regarded it as an intelligence failure. So those comments can be on. But pick on the credit, the humble credit of Honorable Maria to government. Let's look at the origin of terrorism. The Al-Shabaab that is killing people, the Al-Qaeda, the EALA. This is a coordinated network.
You know, he makes a very
It's a
interesting
coordinated
point.
network.
Angelo, let's talk about our exposure. Is it self-inflicted given our involvement in the geopolitical, our involvement in places like Somalia? Are we sort of exposing ourselves to such threats? Is it self-inflicted and thus not necessarily, is it our own making basically?
No, I won't answer that question, but I wanted to just say that a lot of what the security agencies do, they don't take credit for. So for one act of terrorism that is successful, you will never know
For sure.
how many
I've been threatened. Yes.
haven't
So
succeeded.
you say you won't discuss the issue around whether or not you are exposed. We are it's
But,
self-employed.
but
but
you know that
let
is
me-
true. That one we should go without saying
That what?
that we are certainly exposed because of our involvement.
I wanted to say something about this issue of corruption and domestic politics. You know the difference between, say, Uganda and Yemen, or Uganda and Iraq, or Uganda and some of these countries, Syria today, is that we don't have local groups that have been radicalized apart from the ADF, which lost ground here. If we were in a situation where the politics of the government radicalizes domestic enemies and they take up forms of terrorism as we know them, bomb blasts and others, would be in a very, very bad situation.
So our threats are mostly external. That's what you're saying.
Exactly, and that means that to a certain extent, you can you can pretty much say that the response of the domestic security agencies, you can line up what sorts of things that they ought to do and ought to do well.
Okay, Chris, the question that Angelo wants to answer: exposure. Is it self-inflicted, and if so, are there more things that the government can do in order to make sure that whatever threat exists now is managed?
I hope you give me time to explain my stream of thought on that subject. And I think there is a government invitation to heighten terrorism threats in this country. I will begin by telling you, Uganda as a country in this region is failed diplomatically. But you see, the relation between Uganda and her neighbors is not built on trust. It is built on Uganda's capacity to quell uprisings. The strength of Uganda is to committing soldiers, to committing bodies to solve problems in the region. And so you find the international players, Frank is talking about America, is happy because Uganda can donate bodies to Somalia.
Is that what it is?
But why don't you let me explain?
Okay, fair enough. Finish. Frank,
I'll come in.
okay.
Why don't you
Make your
respond
point.
later?
Make your
We
point.
can donate our bodies to Somalia. We can donate them to Sudan. We are present. Uganda is like a notorious person in a village. Nobody knows he's a murderer, but once in a while he comes to your rescue. So he's respected because when you have a problem, you invite him to sort out your enemy. But when it comes to diplomacy, Uganda is beaten. I use the example of Lamu Port. The pipe was supposed to come through Uganda, meet with our pipe from Bunyoro to Jinja, and you diverted to Lamu. They say Uganda is not a good point. So can I make my point quickly? So the issue is, because of that, first of all, we are living with our neighbors without honesty.
No,
And
Alan.
then, internally, our government is not working in this way.
I have heard about
The
it.
terrorists
I have
come
heard about
and they
it.
bribe the migration officials.
I have heard about it, and I won't waste much time to really go into his issues. But the point I left, which I want to pick on, is that when they were banning the students of Kichwamba, this was a coordinated international network. The point you talk about, are we voluntarily exposing ourselves? You don't fight terrorism by withdrawing. Before we went to Somalia, Uganda had so many terrorist attacks. You get the point? I am a proud citizen to know that my government is not only micro, it thinks international. We contribute our sons and daughters to fight the terrorist groups, to be part of a global effort to fight terrorism, which is really non-partisan and discriminatory and targets the
What's the
weak.
need for us?
The need for us is to
Why
continue.
is it important?
Can I
It
answer
is
that
very
question?
important. It is very important because if you have a failed Somalia state for so many years, 20 years and plus, you get it. You have Somalia pirates attacking Kenya. To draw on his example, he says Uganda in the region is more notorious, we are more over enthusiastic. Kenya has not been in Somalia, but they have suffered more at the hands of the pirates than perhaps Uganda.
Kenya shares a border with Somalia.
So we do. Let me finish my point, Alan.
yeah,
It doesn't
finish
help
your
the
point.
viewer to leave it patchy there.
Yeah.
So you cannot tell me that you are best insulated if you withdraw and fail not to be counted. You would rather join the efforts. I was happy to read the other day on Al Jazeera in international press that Al-Shabaab has been dealt a great blow by the AMISOM forces. We should be proud of that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we need to go for a break, but Angelo, make your point.
Angelo, what stops Uganda from being in Somalia?
Let's hear
and
Angelo.
also guard her borders?
Let's hear Angelo.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You guard your borders.
The question that originally asked about our exposure.
Yes.
The reason I didn't want to get into it is because we were discussing national security, and now we are doing foreign policy. You know, the real issue here is...
Depends on how you understand the terrorism question.
Well, the question then is, do our foreign policy goals, is our national security working to support our foreign policy goals? Now in Uganda, it's very difficult to discuss what Uganda's foreign policy is, because it's never really debated, even by parliamentarians. But there is a pattern.
Right.
You know, Uganda, I think, since this government took over, one, it grew one of the largest armies in the region, but also it began a very expansionist foreign policy. You can count it. 1990, a whole section of the army decamped from here, went into Rwanda. 1996, they were in Congo, a campaign that lasted, you can say it's even lasting now. They were simultaneously committed in Burundi and in Sudan, which is one of the longest theaters.
Victors were delivered.
But I'm not talking about Frank.
Yes. I still don't understand.
No.
But I want to touch on two things. The controversy here is, well, there are ideological reasons, the government says, for going in this theater.
Is that a reason or an excuse?
No, these are the reasons. They have committed.
And justified
men, and treasure. But secondly, people don't want to accept this, but everywhere Ugandan armies have gone, markets have followed. Now today, we can talk about regional markets, but those regional markets are pretty much in every theater that the Ugandan army has been.
I really want to follow up on that. I want to follow up on that.
Now, what do you want follow up looting for personal and individual?
Whatever it is. You see, that justifies the strong mission our forces pursue.
So it is a pursuit for economic benefit.
Not only that, economic benefits is an embodiment of the entire package of peace and stability. You get it?
Yeah.
So our domestic policy that we talk about cannot therefore be a discrete or an isolated portion of international foreign policy. Foreign policy shapes...
Let's bring in Honorable Matembe. Honorable Matembe, what were you
I ignored you long time ago, because you don't measure our debate.
Fair enough. Hold on a second. Let's remain civil. Honorable Matembe, what were you saying about the issue around the post-conflict situation?
For me, what disturbs me is the negative impact on the vulnerables who are never attended to. For instance, you send our young people in Somalia, they go to fight for Africanism and defending our territory.
And even still they are shut up. Very good. That's a good. Thank you.
So now it's disturbing me. Because me, I come here to defend the interests of those who can't speak for themselves.
Okay, go ahead, make your point.
So if it was a clear national policy put there, debated and discussed on how our troops should go, and how they should behave, and how their beneficiaries should benefit from their struggles when they fight. What am I saying? The widows and the orphans of those people who come. I have been associated with army people who die there. If you know when their bodies come, in Mbuya there, the way they put them on one truck, come reach here, some relatives dig graves, wait for their bodies to bury them. They arrive there 2 days later, they give them 150,000, bury your dead, they proceed on another journey. You don't know how much people are suffering. I think we should call them what are they when you sacrifice your life?
Matters.
No, those have died. But their mothers who remain behind, their children, their wives, tell me.
We'd like to get a
how
response.
Is the country caring for
We
them?
will need to have that discussion with the
That
military.
is my main concern.
Because I think it's a very big issue you're raising.
Benefiting.
In the meantime, though, let's move on to the next subject.
But
after
I
we
wish I
take
could make a
quick
small
break.
comment.
Yeah, I'll bring you back with that
Okay,
comment.
okay,
Don't worry about
okay,
it.
okay.
It's the Fourth Estate on NTV, and we're here every Sunday after the news. Stay with us, because next we'll be discussing the East African Legislative Assembly.
Now from